So this is the NAT instance demo. These are the steps that we are going to do. We are going to set up a custom VPC with public-private subnets. We are going to have an internet gateway. We are going to have a security group that will allow us with port 22 and port 80 access. And we are going to set up a NAT gateway instance also. And if time permits, we will see whether we can start a Windows instance so that we can use a browser to access our NAT instances if time permits. But anyway, the private instances are going to be pinging to the internet, and if we, as soon as we allow ICMP traffic in the security group, we should be able to access the ping traffic as well from the console itself. So this is what we are going to do. Let's go to our console and start building it. We are going to reuse the VPC that we have been building for some time now. It's already pre-built with one private subnet on public subnet. I'm just going to open my VPC console to be sure that we have the necessary things. So I'm just going to search for our VPC here. As you can see here, there is a VPC. There's no changes to the VPC that we built yesterday. It is the 10.81.0023, and it has the DNS resolution and the DNS host names so that we can use the host names for pinging or the IP address for pinging. And when it comes to subnets, think of it as a quick refresher for the VPCs. So we have two subnets, one public and one private, and the public is in 1A availability zone and private is in 1B availability zone, and each of them is having about 251 IP addresses. And whenever I say public, I mean to say the odd series of IP octets in the third one, so for easy remembering. And then if you go to my routing table, and just once again search for Valaxy, I should be getting these two. Yep, one is the default routing table, that is main equal to S. That means that it's a default routing table, and then you have the Valaxy routing table that custom we created. And if I go here and click on routes, as you can see, as of now, I have an internet route added specifically for my public subnet because it is associated with only one subnet. If I click on subnets here, you can see here only my public is associated with this route table, and if I click on routes, all my internet traffic from my public is sent to my internet gateway. So what we'll do is we'll create one more route table, and then we will send all the internet route for the private instances to the NAT instance. So I'm going to quickly go over to we don't have to change any of these options right now. We are going to quickly go to our security group, and we are going to check ICMP traffic. So these are three security groups that is available in my account for the VPC that we created. One is the default, as you can see here. Another one is public and private, as I created. So in the public, I'm just going to go to inbound rules, and you can see here only 80 and 22 traffic is allowed. I'm going to click on edit and then add another rule, and then I'm just going to find out all ICMP v4. Remember, ping traffic is an ICMP protocol, not any other protocol. So you need to enable this and then give it the world blah 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 blah. Oh, click on save. So any ICMP traffic coming from any port range from the world, that is, in other words, my server should be pingable from the internet once I have a public IP address. For the private instances, we need to set up the, first of all, routing traffic. So until we send the routing traffic, it won't work. So, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the ICMP traffic to go all the way to my public subnet. So it gets forwarded to my public security group, and from my public security group, everybody should be able to ping here. And from my public, by default, it goes to my internet. So anything to reach to my as of now is going to be through this public security group only. So the next step is, now we have set up our VPC side. We are going to start a NAT instance. First of all, before starting a NAT instance, we will start two EC2 servers, one in public, one in private, and do the ping test first. So I'm going to launch an instance. And if I remember correctly, I think yesterday we did Amazon Linux. So today also we will do Amazon Linux so that we can set up some code to work. Click on instance. Okay, here is where the magic happens. In the instance configuration details, you need to choose VPC that we created. So first one that we are going to create is going to be in the public subnet. So click on public subnet, click on enable so that you have this public IP address, and then click on this role so that we can copy some data from my internet or from my S3 bucket. So it's a very similar to what we did yesterday. So I've added the configuration details, nothing but it installs a web server, starts it, enables it on boot, and then copy some files to www.html. Click on next, add storage, let it be the default, and add a name saying uh, Valaxy NAT demo public server. I'm just going to copy this so that we have that. And then I'm going to click on security group. Here's where we need to be careful and choose our public security group. And click on review and launch. I'm going to launch. I'm going to use my Mumbai trainer key. Going to click on launch. Okay, I'm just going to click on this and see the status while it is getting booted up. So I'm selecting this. If you guys didn't know this, we can launch multiple instances with a similar configuration by using this option. If you select that instance, click on actions and click on launch more like this. It will take all the configurations and it will take you to the summary page or the review page. And here we can change whatever details we need. For example, I want to make this as a private instance. So for that, there are a few things that I need to change. I'm going to click on edit instance details and I'm going to change it to private here. That is the subnet that I'm going to choose is going to be private. I'm just ensuring that auto assign public IP is disabled, and then I'm just going to check whether my advanced details has the details for copying the code. So click on next, add tags. Here I just want to add the tag for a private server. So that's done. And in a security group, I just want to change it into private security group so that it is having the security group policies that we created for the private one. Then click on review and launch. Did I check it correctly? Yeah. And then click on launch again. Let us choose the Mumbai key and then click on launch. Go to our dashboard. So I'm going to connect to the public instance now because that is the only one we can connect first. Because that is going to get assigned a public IP address and we should be able to connect to that using our terminal session. So I'm going to go to my terminal, and if you remember, I just set up a session yesterday. I'm just going to edit that session with the new IP address we put in, and I'm just going to check the user ID is correct and just going to check the key is Mumbai trainer key. Click on OK, double click. So if I do this, it should by default work because we have enabled ICMP traffic. If you remember previously when we did it, it didn't work because we didn't have a ICMP rule enabled in our security group. So that is how you enable ping in your VPC and allow ping test to be happening. So now this is working. So let us go ahead and copy our private instance IP address and see if the private instance is up and running. And since we copied a website, if I put my public IP address in the browser, it will work and you should be able to see the web pages as well. So I'm just going to share that IP address with you. This is the public one, and okay, it is all black window, horrible. But anyway, I'll figure out how to control the panel later. So I'm just going to take my private instance IP address and go to my terminal, and I'm just going to duplicate this terminal so that we can try and connect it to our private server right now. We need the keys. Let me copy the keys as well. Before that, I'm just going to see if I am going to get the prompt for connection or not. If all our configurations is good, we should be getting a prompt for connections. Yeah, we are getting a prompt. So far, so good. So I'm just going to set up the keys so that we can connect to this server now. So we are going to connect to our private instance now, and it is working. And I'm just going to check a crazy test here as well. It should, in theory, should not work because this private instance cannot send internet-bound traffic to the external world. I'm just going to change the title of this so that we know that we are connected to a private instance, not a public instance. So guys, I'm just going to pause here for a moment and just reflect on whatever we have done so far. We have created a private VPC, and we have created two subnets, public and private. We started two servers, one in public subnet, one in private subnet, and we just now saw that in the public subnet we were able to ping to the DNS servers, that is Google DNS server, that is 8.8.8. We were able to successfully ping there, whereas in the private server we are not able to ping the same IP address. So we are going to set up a NAT instance so that our server can talk to the internet through this. It can be a ping test, it can be any other test. I'm just showing a ping as an example here. So before I set up a NAT instance, let us reflect on it for a moment. So I'm going to head over to my console here. I'm just going to launch an instance. We are going to launch a NAT instance next. So for that, we go to your EC2 dashboard, click on launch instance, and then I'm going to go to my community AMIs. So if I click on a NAT here, usually Amazon itself has a nice NAT instance, and I'm going to search for that. If I don't get the NAT, I'll try to search again. So you can see here, if I try to type NAT here, it automatically picks up the Amazon NAT instances and gives me the nice names here. You can see Amazon AMI NAT.VPC, blah blah blah, and you have different flavors available, and you can choose the latest one you want. So here the 2017 series, this is the release candidate. So you have a 2000 version 3 version.1. We'll take this one. If I read it correctly, this one seems to be the latest version. So I'm going to select that NAT instance. And most of these NAT instances are T2 micro-verbal. That means that you can start them in a T2 micro instance itself. Go here and click on configure instance details. And remember, we have to put the NAT instance in the public subnet. So our public is in 1A. So that is what we need to do. I'm going to choose a public subnet, that is 1A here. And I am not going to assign an elastic IP. I'm not going to assign a public IP address here, but I'm going to assign an elastic IP to this instance. And we are not going to connect to the NAT instance, so we don't need auto assign a public IP address also here. And we don't need to assign any roles. We don't have to configure anything. Just leave it as default. Click on next. Leave it as a default storage. I'm just going to add a name so that we can have a tag to it to understand what is that server. So I'm just going to have NAT demo NAT server here. Configure security group, and remember, this is going to sit inside the public subnet. Oh, did I make any mistake here? Select an existing security group. I'm not getting the public one. Strange. Did I get the VPC right, guys? I'm just going to quickly go over and check the VPC in the next page. Click on review. Yeah, that is nonsense. I'm just going to go over and check my VPC again to ensure that I'm in the right VPC. Looks like I might not be in the right VPC. Yep, just as I thought, I have chosen the default VPC. I'm just going to choose my Valaxy VPC, and I'm choosing my public subnet. Too bad, none of you reminded me. Okay, I'm going to confirm that whenever you change a VPC or an, say for example, instance or security group, Amazon will try to confirm to you again. Are you sure this is the change you want to do? Click on next. And I'm going to change the security group as well so that we are choosing the public security group here. Yep, this is the security group I wanted, and these are the 3 allowed traffics I wanted. Click on review and launch. We are good here. Everything should be working, and although we are not able to connect, Amazon will ask that question. Okay, it is getting launched. So remember there are checks about the source and destination checks. So that is, if you select this as instance here, and if you go to actions, that is on the EC2 dashboard, if you select your instance, NAT instance or NAT server, and then click on this, and you can have instance status settings. Where is that source destination check? Under networking. Yeah. So you can see here, you can change this option here. Click on change source destination check, and then it will pop up with a window saying, as of now, it is enabled. Do you want to go ahead and disable it? I'm going to say yes, disable it. I don't want you to confirm where is the source, where is the destination, because I'm just a forwarder here. So it is up and running. The next step is to assign an elastic IP, if you remember. So I'm going to go ahead to my EC2 dashboard here, click on elastic IPs, click on associate new address, or allocate, I'm sorry, allocate, a new one gets allocated. Once it is allocated, let it associate with the NAT instance right now. So we are just going to find our NAT instance here in this drop down list. That is in the last one. You can see here NAT demo, NAT server, and then you don't have to do anything else. Click on associate here and close this window, and let us go back to our instances. So if I select my NAT instance now, it will show the elastic IP that we allocated just now. So the final step is to add a route table for my private instances so that they can forward the traffic to the NAT instance. So let us go back to our VPC console, click on route tables, and you can see here I'm already filtered. I already keep it filtered for Valaxy so that it will show us only the Valaxy internet. I'm going to create another route table, and I'm going to say Valaxy. It is a route table for NAT, and click on S to create. So you can see here the NAT route table is created, and it is not having any subnets associated. Whenever you create a route table, what it does is it just puts a default route saying all local traffic, that is all traffic within the VPC, can be allowed in this route table. So now I'm going to associate my private subnet here, because it automatically default it shows this because the public is allocated to another route table. So click on that, and then I'm going to click on my private here, and then click on save. So I am associating my subnet here. Next step is adding a route for internet traffic. So private subnet is here, and private subnet is originating internet traffic, that is destination is internet. So where should I send it? Now I'm going to choose my internet, that is a NAT server demo NAT server. If you can find this instance ID, you can put it in the EC2 dashboard and find out exactly. If you can see here, if I just put it here, you can see here it is the same. I'm just pasting the instance that we copied from the VPC. You can see here it is the blah 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 83 blah blah blah. So everything is set up. I hope that this initialization is completed here. Okay, it is completed. I'm going to go back to my dashboard and see what is happening to my ping. I don't have to show you this, guys. You should be able to see this. It is rolling. You can see here automatically we configured it for internet access, and you can see here your ping is successful. I'm going to stop this to see the summary. You can see here there is this many packets that was transmitted and almost 92% packet loss. That is because if you scroll up to the top, there was quite some time we were keeping it running. It means it was constantly pinging, and only recently it started receiving successful traffic. That is, the 43 were received and the remaining were of the 580 were all dropped. So if we could just go ahead and execute it now, I'm just going to put it, control it for -C5 or C10. It will try to do a 10 times ping, and you'll be having a successful prompt each of those 10 times. So this is how a NAT instance works. So you can configure I can do something like a curl. I don't know whether this will work, but I'm just going to go ahead and give it a try. Yeah, you can see here I'm able to fetch a Google web page from the private instance. I say private because you can see here the third octet is also 0, and if it is an even number, it is private, and if it is an odd number, it is public. So that is how you set up a NAT instance and connect your network NAT instance to your private subnet and allow them to connect to the internet. So that is all here for this demo.